Ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan the Hot Wheels Pittman here, yet again, for my NXT Takeover Toronto review here on Pittman's Pit. And I have been itching to talk about this show. Last night, NXT took over the Air Canada Centre and absolutely stole the show. Oh my god, every single match was just top notch. There was not one bad match the entire night. 2 hours well freaking spent. Every match had one or two or multiple moments in it that just had my eyes bugging out and my freaking jaw halfway on the floor. So, let's not waste any more time chatting. Let's get into this. The show opened up with a clash of Canadians as Niagara Falls native Ty the Perfect 10 Dillinger took on the glorious Bobby Roode from Toronto, Canada. And this was honestly a hell of a lot better than it even had any business being. This should have been just your throwaway opening curtain match, even with how talented both guys are. This should have been a decent match and ended up being pretty freaking epic for what it was. They didn't really do any big flips or 1,000 different kicks. It was just one or two super kicks and then basically standard blueprint wrestling. By the book, old school, technical experience is exactly what this was. And boy, I tell you, this was a barn burner for what it was. You had freaking Ty Dillinger pulling out all the stops. He did super kicks. He freaking got Bobby Roode in the corner and started punching him and punching him and punching him. And as the referee was counting, because in wrestling the rule is once you're on top of the guy in the corner, you're only allowed to punch the guy 10 times. And once you get to 10, you're disqualified. But he was counting 1, 2, 3, like that. And the crowd was literally counting 10 every single time. They were like, 10, 10, 10, 10. And it's like, oh my god, this guy is over with the crowd. He is so popular. And Bobby freaking Roode, he came out with a damn choir. It was epic. It was insane. I loved it. I'm like, this guy is so full of himself, and it is just so awesome to see him milking every second of it. And not only was the choir singing his theme, the crowd was too. The crowd absolutely loved both these guys, and their technical exchanges, their reversals, their prowess that they showed throughout the match was just absolute art in motion. There was this one spot in particular that I absolutely loved, that Ty Dillinger, he had Bobby Roode locked in a sharpshooter, which of course, because Brett is a freaking god in Canada, the second that move is used by anyone, they're instantly beloved. So, Ty Dillinger had the sharpshooter applied. Bobby barely got to the ropes, and he starts trying to go over to the corner. Sorry about that. But basically, Bobby tried to get to the corner, trying to get away, and by now, freaking Ty he's fired up. He's ready to close this deal. So he runs, Bobby moves out of the way, smack right into the turnbuckle, then Bobby grabs him and freaking chucks him straight into the other post, shoulder first into the metal, hits this jumping DDT, like this lifting DDT slammed his head directly into the canvas, and then 1, 2, 3. Bobby Roode defeats Tye Dillinger in his hometown of Toronto. The crowd gave both men the standing ovation they deserved. They sang along to Glorious, the theme of Bobby Roode. And as he walked away, then Tye Dillinger stood up and they gave Tye Dillinger a standing ovation, a well-deserved standing ovation. Because these men both equally put on absolute magic in that ring. It was something to behold, and it was way better, in my opinion, than anybody could have ever expected. Even with Bobby Roode, even with Tye Dillinger, this match was way better than it had any business being. And it was just the perfect note to say, okay, if this is how we're going to start the show, imagine how good it's going to get when it goes along. Next up, you had the Dusty Rhodes Memorial Classic Cup being decided in the finals as TM61. Sorry, I lost my breath a little bit, sorry. Alright, so TM61 fought the Authors of Pain. And it was absolutely the most epic, oh my god, tag team match that I'd seen up to that point. Until the one right after it. But for what it was, I gotta say, this was a great match. I mean, you had Paul Ellering, the Authors of Pain manager, locked in a cage, hanging above the ring, so he can't get involved and cost TM61 the match, because he'd been doing that to other teams throughout the tournament. So, you have TM61 getting a fair fight against freaking, the Authors of Pain, and one of the first things they do is one of their members, Shane Thorne, freaking, he climbs this support beam scaffold thing that was holding the cage in place above the ring, to the ceiling. He climbs one of those things, it had to be at least 15, 20 feet in the air, freaking somersaults off the damn thing, onto both Authors of Pain and his freaking partner, Nick Miller. Yes, I finally remembered what the guy's name is. But regardless, he does this freaking flip off the support beam, out of the ring, to the floor, takes everybody out, and I'm just like, whoa. I literally could not believe what I'd just seen. And then later in the match, Miller, he put on a great show too, because he freaking starts, lifting both Authors of Pain, one at a time, mind you, but it's still impressive considering they're like 330 pounds each. So we're talking over 600 pounds. He has just lifted up and basically suplexed left and right, slamming them around the ring like it's nothing. Slamming them like they're freaking cruiserweights. You wouldn't know if he was slamming around freaking Hornswoggle. It was really impressive. And then they lift up one of the Authors of Pain. I don't remember if it was Occam or if it was Razor. I think it was Razor that they did it to. Anyway, so they press them above their heads. And then this guy is just pressed above their heads and he's looking down. Then they flip him onto his back, onto the mat, slam him down, and everybody thinks that's going to be it, because that's TM61's finisher. They call it Thunder Valley. But Razor's partner, Occam, gets involved, and he breaks up the pinfall, so the pinfall didn't get completed. So it got stopped before it got put 3. Later in the match, Paul Ellering somehow manages to drop the chain that was on the cage door that he's in down to the ring. Razor freaking gets it and wraps it around his knuckles while the ref is distracted, and he tries to hit Nick Miller in the head with it, but he misses. So the chain ends up going like freaking miles across. It actually ended up going into the crowd. Luckily, it looked like nobody got hit. It could have been a lot worse than it actually was, but luckily it didn't look like anybody got hit in the head with that thing. So good. So it ends up in the crowd somewhere, and freaking Nick Miller and Shane Thorne, they get back in the ring. Shane tags in, tries to do a roll-up, but it doesn't work out. The Authors of Pain boot Miller off the rope, so he's laid out, he's on the floor, he's done. And then they grab Shane Thorne, and they hit their finisher, the side Russian leg sweep clothesline combination they call the final chapter. And then 1, 2, 3, the Authors of Pain are your Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic winners. I thought this was a great match, and I think that the fact that the Authors of Pain won is a good thing, because really, realistically, how are you going to have these guys lose? How are you going to have it, unless you can find 2 other beasts to start building up? Realistically, who's going to be able to beat these guys? Certainly not 2 guys the size of TM61. That's just, it's not believable to me. People that are maybe 5 foot and maybe weigh 200 pounds soaking wet, they don't stand a chance against somebody that's like 6'10 and freaking 330 pounds. It just isn't possible. So, they booked it the right way, the right men win, and now the Authors of Pain, in my opinion, they should go for the tag team championships, because after you've won that classic championship trophy, like, what else is there to do other than go for the tag titles? There's really nothing else to do. So, hopefully they send the Authors of Pain after the tag team championships, because, believe it or not, I'm actually starting to become really big on Razor and Occam. I'm really starting to dig what they're doing. They may not be the fanciest tag team, but I really do appreciate them for, like, what they are. These 2 monstrous men that just, they won't do any flips and a lot of, like, super kicks or any of that stuff. They'll just freaking get in there and they will pound your face into mashed potatoes. That's what they're about. So, of course, you know, it's good to have teams like that in the tag divisions. Because if everyone's doing the same thing, it gets too predictable. You have a team like this, who they're not doing the things that the other tag teams are doing. They're more of a smash mouth, okay, we're going to beat you up and beat you down, and we're not really going to do any fancy moves to do it. I think that's actually really good to see. And the tag team division needs more of it. So I think they need to keep pushing the Authors of Pain towards the tag titles, have them win it eventually, and I think they need to build them up as this monster team, because I could see them facing teams like the Club. I could see them demolishing teams like the New Day. I could see them making a joke out of freaking Enzo and Cass. Maybe not Cass so much, but definitely Enzo. So, that was a really good match as well, and honestly, by now, NXT Takeover Toronto was 2 for 2. Like, by now, I'm really starting to get into it. I'm starting to be like, man, this is a really good show. Like, this has only been 2 matches in, and I'm already feeling it. But then Let's talk about it. The NXT Tag Team Championships. Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, hashtag DIY, faced off against the tag team champions Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson, the Revival, in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Tag Team Championships. I never thought I'd say this, but I think that freaking Shinsuke and Sami Zayn got dethroned as far as match of the year. Like, this is definitely a bar none candidate for it. If it's not nominated in the freaking Slammy Awards that they do, then you really know the Slammies are a joke. This isn't even nominated. So, I'm hoping that the fans will get what they want, and that the actual matches come that time of the year will get the recognition they deserve. So, this match had literally everything. It had a story to it. It had freaking epic reversals. It had smash mouth, in your face aggression. It had your oh my god moments. Tons of them, actually. And it just had heightened drama, heightened drama, heightened drama. It's just over the top, edge of your seat. You don't know what's gonna happen. Nail biting action with two of the greatest tag teams in professional wrestling to date. I loved how the Revival came out in like these black shorts with pink on the sides, paying homage obviously to the Hart Foundation, mostly Bret, but Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Owen Hart, a little bit of Davey Boy too. But I loved that they did that little tribute because Scott Dawson, Bret is actually one of his personal heroes. He's gone on record saying that. So I really loved that they pulled that out for a tag team match like this. And it was just match after match after match. Literally 3 falls of just epic, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. First fall, literally boom, like that. Gargano looks like he's gonna get a roll up, and right at the last second, the Revival kicks out. So it gives you that, oh my god, this is gonna end at any second kind of feel to it. But but later in that same fall, there was this really sweet spot that I just gotta talk about. Gargano's on the outside. He's about to do this springboard where he kind of jumps into the ring and does a spear. It's this sweet move. I've seen him do it a million times, and I never get tired of it. He gets caught right in the middle of it, and freaking Scott Dawson freaking bounces him off the ropes and just tosses him right into Dash Wilder for their shatter machine. And it's just boom. Looks like he freaking destroyed him in one move. And 1, 2, 3, the Revival get your first fall. Later in the match, you have the you have DIY coming back, and they started doing this storyline that Gargano, at one point, his ribs got hurt, probably from that chatter machine, so his ribs are hurting. He's on the outside a lot of the match. So Tommaso is pretty much working a lot of the match for himself now, for the rest of it. And they're still pulling off magic. I mean, the Revival killed it tonight. They pulled off heart attacks. They pulled off freaking uh, shatter machines. They pulled off clubbing in the corner. And then Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano They did submissions. They did chops. They did just as much clubbing as the Revival did, and it was insane. The second fall ended up being that the uh, the second fall ended up being just the running strike combo that Gargano and Ciampa do. They ran together, smashed Dawson in the head, and 1, 2, 3 over. Later in the match, the Revival, they get back into it, and they start really, really hammering in on Gargano's leg. Like, really just destroying. And they had him locked in their submission finisher, which is like a sideways figure four leg lock type of move. They had that locked in tight. Gargano is screaming. He looks like he wants to give up, but he manages to barely crawl to the ropes. He manages to barely hang on. So after that, what ends up happening is Gargano and Ciampa, they battle back, and they actually, at one point, it looks like the Revival is gonna hit Johnny Gargano with the with DIY's own finisher, that running strike combination. The Revival tries to do it, but they miss. They bang into each other, and then, of all things, they lift DIY lifts Scott Dawson up, and they smash him with a freaking shatter machine. They use the Revival's tag team move. So that was something to behold, but the Revival kicks out. This just goes back and forth and up and down. The crowd is on their feet the whole damn time. And at this point, I'm not sure who's gonna win. But eventually, what ends up happening is Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, they get DIY in this combination where both of them have each member of the Revival in an armbar, and they're like grabbing each other's hands, saying, the Revival are grabbing each other's hands, trying to tell each other, look, don't tap out on me, don't tap out on me, don't tap out on me. But eventually, both of them do have to tap out. They gotta tap. Like, the pain is just too much. And at the end of the match, you see Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa lifting the tag team championships in the air. Wow. Just wow. This is exactly what wrestling needs to be. This is why I am a wrestling fan. It's matches like that make me remember what made me fall in love with wrestling. Why I absolutely adore watching professional wrestling and always will. Always have, and I don't think I'll ever grow out of it. It's moments like this where you see these tag teams who have freaking worked their butts off, clawed, scratched, just barely got it taken away from them. They've just come so close, yet so far, time and time again. And then they finally get their moment, right when the crowd wants them to get it the most. They get their championship run. It was perfect. It's absolute perfection. There's no other way to put it. So, all I have to say is, thank you, DIY. Thank you, Revival, for giving us, bar none, the match of 2016. I don't care what other match you want to compare it to. This is the match of 2016. This was the best match of the year for me. Hands down. and the show was not over yet. But at this point, I'm like, wow, this whole night has been exhausting in the most awesome, happy way possible. Like, in the most positive way I can say it, this match just had me exhausted. By this point, I was emotionally just drained. And this show's like, yeah, we know you've got a little bit left in you, so we're gonna keep plugging it. We're gonna keep, we're just gonna keep draining just a little bit more out of you, man. We ain't done with you just yet. And they weren't. After Bobby Roode and Ty Dillinger set the bar, after 2 tag team matches, raised it, the women freaking shattered a glass ceiling. Mickie James returns to face the NXT Women's Champion Asuka for the Women's Championship. Honestly, this was a great match just for a feel-good match. To see Mickie James come back. To see Asuka be competing against one of the trendsetters for the women's division of all time. It was just this feel-good match. But when it actually started, not that it was bad. It was actually awesome, but I'm just saying, I don't think either girl's gonna be feeling good in the morning after that. I don't think either of them are gonna be feeling good. Because, oh my god, this match looked freaking brutal. You had the entrances were cool to see. Mickie James got a great ovation, welcome back, thank you, Mickie, blah blah blah. We knew she's gonna get that. She deserves it. So of course she's gonna get that. And you got that and gave that to her, but what I want to see is Asuka. That's what this crowd wanted. I'm surprised she got it over when she was facing Mickie James as she did. But man, I'm honestly not that surprised, to be honest with you. It's just to see her come out, and there's just this ocean of people wearing masks like the one Asuka wears. Actually, last night it was literally exactly the same one. They're just wearing her mask. And she's doing this little arm wave thing that she does. Rolling her wrists and just motioning to the crowd. Dancing around, motioning to the crowd. And she's, sweeping her hand by the crowd, like a little bit of a high five, but she's this badass, so she can't be too friendly, I guess. But, she did let a few people touch her hand. I'm sure that was a big moment for them, because it was clear that these weren't plants. That these weren't people that WWE just hired to, support Asuka. It wasn't that. These were legitimate Asuka fans. Or as apparently we're being called now, and yes, I said I am an Asuka fan. As we're being called now, the faces of tomorrow. Because she is the Empress of tomorrow. And by God, she lived up to her name. She showed that she is the future of women's wrestling. And that the future is in damn good hands. I tell you. Whoa. It starts off with just they're countering each other. And they're trying to make sure that they've got a good feel for each other. They're countering each hold and they're not letting each other do any kicks. They're trying to set the tone for it. But eventually, they locked horns and away they went. And Mickie actually, she got some pretty good licks in, to be honest with you. She set the pace and really tested Asuka in this match. There was this one spot in particular that I actually thought she was going to win. She hits the Mick kick, which is like this roundhouse kick, and the back of her heel literally, bang, right into Asuka's head. She looked like she was legit knocked out. Done. Finito. She looked like she was out. Cold. But somehow, I don't know how, I still don't know how, Asuka manages to get her foot on the rope. Then in the match, what ends up happening is they're outside the ring, and I love the mind games they played early with each other. Like, Asuka would get Mickie James outside the ring. No, wait, Mickie did it first. Mickie gets Asuka outside the ring, and she just sits on the rope, pulls it open, and she's like, come on, get back in the ring, bye. Come on. Well, she doesn't say bye, but, that's just, I'm a newfie, so, that's just kind of how we talk, sorry. But she's like, yeah, come on, get back in the ring, get in the ring. And Asuka's just kind of smiling at her, like, okay, I see what you're doing. I see how you want to play it. That's it, kept it. And she just kind of nods, like, thank you. And then away they went to try and kill each other again. Then Asuka gets her out of the ring, and she sits on the ropes, and she just looks at me like, you know what, come on, what are you waiting for? Mickie gets back in the ring, and I might be imagining this, but I swear to God, Mickie tried to kiss her. I swear to God. I swear to God, I thought I saw that. Like, I thought she tried to kiss her on the cheek, and then after that happened, Asuka snapped. Yeah, she freaking snapped and tried to freaking commit a murder in the ring. Like, she is just. After that, the gloves were off. It was away they went. Asuka's outside the ring, and she does this move where she has Mickie by the ankle, but then when Mickie tries to stand up, she wraps her arms around Mickey's waist and freaking German suplexes her, tosses her backwards. Her head landed right on the floor, and it looked like Mickie was just not going to be able to make it back in the ring. And at one point, it looked like Asuka didn't want her to get back in the ring. Like she was going to accept a countout. That might be a heel turn that they're trying to, they might be trying to test the waters to see if that would work. I don't think it would because the crowd didn't really buy it. The crowd, they didn't let it happen. They still cheered her. So that's something that WWE is going to need to work on. If you're really going to turn somebody heel, you have to give the fans a reason to no longer support them. Because WWE fans nowadays, they're smart. And they don't go by, oh, this person's a good guy, this guy's a bad guy now. They don't go by that anymore. They go by who they think is the most talented. And they know Asuka is talented. So if you're going to make people have to boo her now, or make them have to boo anyone now, you have to give them a reason. And if you want them to cheer somebody now that they haven't naturally, organically clung to, you need to give them a damn good reason to do that. That's something WWE needs to work on. But it ended up getting to a point where, as I said, it was near fall after near fall. Both girls came close multiple times. But it ends up being that Mickie James gets caught in, well, it didn't look to me like she got caught the normal way, because normally, when Asuka locks in her finisher, the Asuka lock, she has the arm around the throat, like she did in this match, but she also has the hand pinned behind her opponent's back. And Asuka wraps her legs around, the person's core, around their stomach, so she can squeeze them and freaking squeeze the air out of them and make them pass out or make them want to tap out. She didn't have the arm wrapped around the back this time, and she didn't, put her legs around the stomach of Mickie James this time. So it didn't look like it was even close to fully locked in, and yet still Mickie taps out. I found that a little weird. I found that really strange, to be honest with you. Just the fact that I've seen her lock that in on Bailey, and Bailey didn't tap out when it was locked in fully. And a veteran like Mickie James will tap out when it's not even fully locked in. I just didn't fully, think that was smart. I thought that they should have waited until, until the hole was fully locked in. So, that was my only gripe about it. Other than that, it was a great match. Not the best match of the night, but honestly, I think it was still a great match. And after the Women's Championship match, well, first, I need to mention that another thing that might be teasing this heel turn from Asuka is the fact that after the match, Mickie James, she extends her hand to Asuka to shake, but Asuka, she just raises the championship above her head, kind of like in her face kind of thing, and she doesn't shake Mickey's hand. She just walks away. Now, you could build that as a heel turn, or you could just say, you know what? Yeah, I'm the best. I beat a veteran. I don't really need to be respectful anymore. I am the most badass woman on this planet, and I'm gonna start killing it. That's the way I think her head was going. And I don't think that needs to be treated as full on heel, because honestly, in my opinion, that's how she should be acting. She's mowed through everybody. She has destroyed everything put in her path. Of course she should be confident. Of course she should think she's untouchable. Everybody is saying that that should be billed as arrogance, as now she's getting too full of herself. But yeah, I don't think so. What I think, what I think is that she's just proving time and time again that nobody can stop her. She's proving time after time after time that nothing can stand in her way. And I think that that should be celebrated rather than condemned. So, hats off to both women, and it was a great cool down match for the main event, which Lord knows we needed to cool down if we were going to see what we saw. First, I'll talk about the entrance of Shinsuke Nakamura. Joe's was good. It was a standard entrance, but he just he looked intimidating and imposing like he's supposed to do. And just the look in his eyes looked like, oh, okay, he's ready to destroy somebody. He's ready to kill. Like, and then Shinsuke's hit. Shinsuke's music. And then it's just like, he had like 6 violins come out with him. And yes, I did see on a Facebook page or two that yes, the violinists weren't actually playing. But frankly, just the way they were hamming it up, like there were these 4 people in particular, and they were in the ring. One guy was like down on his knee, and he was just, strumming the chord, pulling the stick thing. I don't know what it's called, but like he was, sawing away at it, and he looked like he was rocking out. And they were all bobbing their heads. They were just milking it for everything it was worth. So I think that if you want an authentic performance, his Back to Brooklyn performance when he was in NXT Takeover Brooklyn 2, that entrance was better as far as authenticity. But if you want just showmanship and milking a moment for everything it is worth, that was this one. And it really set a tone of, you're going to see something really entertaining. However, I don't think it set the tone for how brutal this was going to be, how violent this match was. These matches, like, this match just, every single time they did a move, it was like a gunshot went off. Every strike, every punch, every kick was just, it sounded literally like a gun went off. And there was this one move in particular that I just absolutely loved. Like how Shinsuke got Samoa Joe across the freaking turnbuckle, on top of it, across, and then he ran and freaking drove his knee right into the midsection of Samoa Joe. Boom! I just loved how brutal that looked and how cringy it sounded. It just sounded like something got broken. It literally looked like he got snapped in half. And then later in the match, Samoa Joe, he uses his Chimera Plex, which is a combination of 3 types of suplexes. A German, a Tiger Suplex, no, Dragon Suplex, sorry, not Tiger, Dragon, and a Straightjacket Suplex. So, he uses those 3 suplexes in succession, and he calls that move a Chimera Plex, and then tried to pin Shinsuke, but even that wouldn't keep him down. I am surprised that we did not see blood in this match, but actually, I think we did, to be honest with you, because I can't tell if it was his mouth guard or if Shinsuke really was bleeding from the mouth. There was one point it looked like he was. So, I'm not sure if he was, but I think he was. But, honestly, whether or not it happened, blood was not needed in this match. And it went down just the opposite way that anyone would have predicted. This was a shocker. Samoa Joe, outside the ring, the ref didn't see it, he kicks freaking Shinsuke between the legs, below the belt. He kicks him, freaking slams him on the steel steps, throws him in the ring, does the muscle buster, and then pins him. 1, 2, 3, and Samoa Joe is now a 2-time WWE NXT Heavyweight Champion. I didn't see this coming at all, and I still don't know fully how I feel about it. But all I can say is I hope this. If Samoa Joe just won the championship, I hope it means Shinsuke Nakamura is going to the main roster soon. Because I can just think of the amount of matches that he could have up there. With guys like Finn Balor when he comes back. With guys like AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Chris Jericho. I could just... John Cena. Roman Reigns. I could think of the matches that he could have with these people. Hell, he could even pull off a great match with someone like a Bray Wyatt or a Randy Orton, or even a Braun Strowman. So, that's what I hope for this. What I really hope for this match, if they're going to do this and have Samoa Joe beat Nakamura when he just won the championship, I hope it means that Shinsuke gets the call up to the main roster soon. Maybe make him have one more match against somebody like, I don't know, a Bobby Roode. And maybe he does the honors again one more time, and then gets sent up to the main roster. Because that's usually how it works. They get there, they go on a roll for a while, they have a few feuds, they win the championship, and then after they win the championship, they eventually go on to drop it, and then their next feud is their last. Their next match is usually their last. And then after the next events are done, and they go to the main roster. That's how it's gone for years now in NXT, and that's how I think it needs to go tonight. I think that Shinsuke, he needs to go to the main roster as fast as possible. Hell, Samoa Joe needs to go to the main roster as fast as possible. I send them both up. But regardless, I don't think they're sending Joe up just yet. Because of the fact that they put the title back on him. I don't know why. I think he needs to go to NXT. I think he needs to stay out of NXT now. Go to Raw. Go to SmackDown. I think he needs to do that. But apparently WWE has other plans for him. Well, I have no idea what they're going to do from here. But I know one thing. This show was one hell of a ride. This was, I've said it before, the reminder of why I love professional wrestling. The reminder of what made me a fan when I was little. The reminder of just that emotional investment that we as fans want to feel when we're watching professional wrestling. This is a show that gave me that. And I would just like to say thank you, WWE. Thank you to every performer that was on this show. And thank you, NXT, for bringing back the full potential of my love of professional wrestling. I've been cynical over the past, I don't even know how many years, but I've grown cynical of the whole wrestling fan thing. I've always been too analytic and critical of what I was seeing. This was the type of show that I could watch and I didn't have to be. I didn't have to be critical. I didn't have to just overanalyze every damn thing. I could just sit there and I could watch and I could enjoy and I could be a fan again. So, I want to thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and most importantly, please, please, please subscribe. My name is Jonathon Pittman, aka the Hot Wheels. And this has been Pittman's Pit. Signing off. WWE, top that.